Most people don't live their lives. They accept their lives. They don't design it. They default into it. And you know why? Because they confuse a wish with a goal. Wishing is easy. Everyone does it. We wish for better health, more money, stronger relationships, and a brighter future. But wishing doesn't work. Thinking does. Clear thinking leads to decisions. And decisions lead to action. Action brings change. That's how you move from hoping life gets better to actually making it better. If you're tired of being part of the crowd that says, someday I love, then it's time to step into the rare group who says, this year I will. The moment you stop wishing and start thinking, everything changes. So let's talk about it. Not just how to set goals, but how to set them right. Most people have no idea how powerful it is to simply stop and think long enough to put their dreams on paper. They talk about what they want. They daydream about what their lives could look like. They get excited at a seminar or inspired after watching a video, but they never take the most basic foundational step, writing it down. And because they don't, the idea remains foggy, the vision stays blurry, and nothing concrete ever happens. That's the tragedy. Not that people don't dream big, but they don't organize those dreams into something real. The truth is, when you write it down, you give that dream a heartbeat. It goes from being a cloud in your mind to something you can see, touch, and carry with you. The moment you write it, your mind shifts. You no longer see it as an impossible fantasy. You see it as a mission. And that shift, from wish to mission, is the beginning of transformation. You see wishes float in the air. They're soft, fleeting, comforting, but powerless. But when you write down a goal, it becomes a seed. And that seed, with water, time, discipline, and consistent action, grows into something strong, real, and rewarding. The paper doesn't just record your dream. It holds you accountable. You can lie to others with words, but it's harder to lie to yourself when you're staring at your own handwriting. You want to lose weight, start a business, become financially free, travel the world, rebuild your marriage, or double your income. Good. Now write it down. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel more motivated. Now. The problem isn't that people don't want change. The problem is they don't take the first serious action toward it. Writing a goal forces you to clarify what you really want. It forces you to get specific. You can't write, I want more money, and walk away. That's not a goal. That's a wish. A goal to earn $10,000 in extra income by December through consulting work. A goal is measurable, has a deadline, and demands a plan. When you write it like that, your brain clicks into a new mode. It starts scanning for opportunities, new patterns, new behaviors. It's like a radar system gets turned on. And suddenly you notice things you didn't before. Writing your goals also gives you the power to review and revise. Every month, every week, you can look at that piece of paper and ask, am I on track? Am I getting closer or further? Do I need to change my approach? It becomes a compass, a guide. Most people can drift life because they have no destination. You don't drift to the top of a mountain. You don't drift into success. You set the course, you track your movement, and you climb step by step. But the climb begins with the decision to write it down. Don't trust your memory. Don't trust your emotions. They change. Write it. See it. Feel it. Own it. A written goal also builds belief. When you see the same words every day, your own words, your belief begins to grow. You go from wish I could to maybe I can to I will, and eventually I am. That's the evolution. But it all begins when you stop keeping it in your head and give it life on paper. Some of the most successful people didn't start with money, connections, or special talent. They started with a notebook and a pen. That's it. And they used it to build clarity, direction, and discipline. You can do the same. And once you begin to live by your written goals, your mind starts working for you instead of against you. Now, let's go deeper. It's not just about writing down any goal. It's about writing down goals that move you, stir you, and stretch you. Because when a goal doesn't inspire you, it won't activate you. You won't chase something that doesn't excite you. You won't make sacrifices for something that doesn't energize your spirit. That's why so many people set goals and never follow through. Because the goals are too small, too safe, too shallow. They set goals that make them feel good in the moment, but not goals that demand growth, change, and courage. When you set a goal, you have to feel something inside. You have to feel the fire. That burning sensation that says, this matters to me. You must want it so badly that you're willing to trade time, effort, and comfort for it. Most people don't reach their goals not because they lack the ability, because they lack the urgency. They set a goal and then hope the stars align. But that's not how it works. Life doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you earn, and you earn it by setting goals that get you out of bed with energy. keep you awake with purpose, and drive you forward even when you're tired, broke, or discouraged. That's why you must choose your goals wisely. Choose goals that stretch your imagination and challenge your character. A goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. If your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. And if they don't excite you, they're not meaningful enough. The right goal will pull the best out of you. It will bring to the surface talents, strengths, and resilience you didn't know you had. It's not about ease. It's about purpose. You don't need goals that entertain you. You need goals that transform you. The next key is this. Your goals must be aligned with your values. Because when your goals contradict your core values, you will self-sabotage. Let's say your goal is to become a millionaire, but you believe rich people are selfish. Or you want to lose weight. But you've told yourself that being fit means being arrogant. You'll never reach a goal that contradicts your beliefs. So your first job is to clean up your mindset and set goals that are both exciting and aligned with the person you truly want to become. Otherwise, you'll be chasing something that doesn't fit your identity. And that will always lead to frustration. Another truth most people don't want to admit: your goals have to be yours, not your parents, not society's, not your friends, yours. Because when the pressure hits, and it always does, you won't keep fighting for something that doesn't mean anything to you personally. If your goal is based on what someone else expects of you, you'll quit the moment it gets hard. But if it's based on your own vision, your own values, your own fire, you'll keep going even when you feel like giving up. You'll keep pushing because it matters to you, not because it's popular or impressive. So take the time to think. Take the time to dig. What do you want? Not someday. Not if I had time. But now. What matters enough for you to make sacrifices? What excites you enough that you'd chase it even if nobody clapped, nobody watched, and nobody validated your effort? Those are your real goals. Those are the ones worth writing down. And once you write them down, guard them. Guard them with your energy, your time, your habits. Because if you don't protect your goal, distractions will destroy it. And the world has no shortage of distractions. Make your goal visible. Put it on your wall, on your phone, on your bathroom mirror. Talk about it to people who support your growth. Read it every morning. Remind yourself every night. Your goal is your direction. It's your mission. And when you begin to live with that kind of intention, something shifts inside of you. You walk differently. You speak with more confidence. You take actions you never took before. Not because you're pretending, but because you finally have a clear target. Remember, your life won't change because you wish for it. It will change because you think, decide, write, and act. Your goal is the beginning. It's the spark. But it needs your focus, your discipline, and your consistency to become a fire. Once you go from merely wishing to intentional thinking and committed writing, you put yourself in a different category. The few. The focused. And those people, the ones who write it, plan it, believe it, and act on it, they change everything. The people often say they want more out of life. They want more income, more success, more happiness, more freedom. But when you ask them what that looks like, they pause. They hesitate. They speak in generalities. I just want to be happier. I want to be rich. I want a better life. But here's the truth. Vague goals produce vague results. And unclear thinking leads to unclear action. You can't hit a target you can't see. And you can't chase a goal you haven't clearly defined. That's the mistake most people make. They wait for life to hand them clarity instead of creating it. Clarity is not something that shows up. It's something you work for. Deciding exactly what you want is the difference between wandering and walking a path. A person who wakes up with no real goal in mind walks into the day without urgency. They're reacting to life. But when you know exactly what you want, you're no longer reacting. You're creating. You get up with intention, move with purpose. You're not hoping today is a good day. You're planning to make it one. That's the power of a clear goal. It gives your energy a place to go. It gives your talents direction. It makes your effort mean something. Clarity is not just a motivational tool. It's a practical weapon. It keeps you from wasting time. It helps you say no to distractions. If you don't know exactly what you want, then everything becomes a possibility, and that's dangerous. Because when everything is a possibility, you're tempted to say yes to things that don't align with your future. You join things, commit to things, spend on things, chase things, and none of them lead you where you actually want to go. But when you are crystal clear, your path gets simple. Not easy, but simple. You can finally sort the meaningful from the meaningless. Clarity demands thinking. Deep, honest thinking. You have to ask yourself, what do I want, really? Not what sounds good, not what impresses people. But what truly matters to you? Do you want more income? Good. How much? By when? For what purpose? Because the goal isn't the number. It's what the number gives you. It's the lifestyle, the freedom, the contribution. Do you want better health? Great. What does that look like? How many pounds? What kind of fitness? What specific habits? Until you answer those questions with precision, your goals are just hope dressed in a costume. You see, the clearer the goal, the more power it has. Imagine walking into a dark room filled with furniture and obstacles. That's your life without clarity. Every step is cautious. Every movement is filled with uncertainty. But now imagine turning on the light. Suddenly you see exactly where to step. That's what clarity does. It turns on the light. It shows you what matters. And once you can see the path, the steps become obvious. Not always easy, but at least you know what needs to be done. And don't confuse clarity with perfection. Some people delay setting a clear goal because they're afraid it won't be the perfect goal. They say things like, "I'm not sure if this is what I really want." But that's just fear pretending to be wisdom. Don't wait to be 100% sure. Make a decision, get clear, and adjust along the way. The worst goal you clearly pursue is better than the perfect goal you never commit to. Because action beats intention every time. Once you decide exactly what you want, something inside you locks in. You begin to attract the right thoughts, the right people, the right opportunities. The mind, when focused, becomes a magnet. But it has to be focused on something real, something vivid, something definite. Clarity multiplies effort. You get more done in less time because you stop doing things that don't serve your mission. And that's a powerful place to live from. Not rushed, not scattered, but focused, driven, intentional. Now let's talk about something most people overlook when setting goals. They look at the mountain and it overwhelms them. They say, "How can I ever get there?" They see the distance between where they are and where they want to be, and it freezes them. That's because they've never learned to break the big goal into small, measurable pieces. They try to swallow the whole elephant in one bite. And of course, they choke. You can't do a decade of work in one day, but you can do today's work today, and then do it again tomorrow. That's how progress happens, one small step at a time. The human mind loves progress, but it gets discouraged by what feels impossible. That's why breaking things down matters. If you say, "I want to write a book," it feels like a mountain. But if you say, "I'll write 1 page a day," suddenly it feels double. 1 page a day is a book in a year. If you want to lose 30 pounds, don't focus on the 30. Focus on the next 5. If you want to earn an extra $20,000, don't obsess over the total. Break it into monthly, weekly, even daily targets. Goals that feel manageable get acted on. Goals that feel overwhelming get avoided. A big goal without small checkpoints is a fantasy. It sounds inspiring, but doesn't move you to act. The mind needs milestones. It needs short-term wins to stay motivated. That's why tracking your progress is critical. When you track something, you improve it. Whether it's your income, your weighting, or your time management, what gets measured gets improved. It gives you feedback. It shows you where you're succeeding and where you're slipping. Most people don't fail from lack of desire. They fail from lack of measurement. They don't know where they stand. So they stop believing they can move forward. Breaking goals into pieces also gives you momentum. And momentum is the great amplifier of human performance. Once you see a little progress, you start to believe. And once you believe, you do more. And the more you do, the more progress you see. It becomes a loop of success. But it all starts with taking that massive vision and cutting it into manageable pieces. Pieces that you can act on today. Not next week. Not when it feels perfect. But now. You have to get specific about your daily habits. What will you do in the next 24 hours that moves you closer? What action can you take this week that puts another brick in the foundation of your dream? When you live with that kind of thinking, short-term execution aligned with long-term vision, you become dangerous. You no longer waste time. You stop making excuses. You live with urgency and clarity. And the combination of those two forces is rare and powerful. Don't let the size of your dream become the reason you delay. Let it become the reason you discipline yourself today. The bigger the dream, the more responsibility you have to break it down into daily pieces. That's the difference between those who arrive and those who drift. Arrivers know what they want. They decide, they plan, they execute, and they adjust. Drifters hope. They wait. They dabble. They excuse. They blame. Choose which side you want to live on. Every great goal is achieved in pieces, step by step. And every time you complete one, you grow stronger. Not just in ability, but in confidence. You start to believe in yourself. You're proving something to yourself every day. That proof compounds. Just like money grows with interest, confidence grows with consistency. And consistency comes from clarity and structure. Without structure, goals fade. Without measurement, goals dissolve. But when you build that system of progress, small, steady, measurable action, you create a framework for success that can't be shaken. So make your goals clear. Make them real. And then break them down until they are so small that they no longer intimidate you. Until they are so practical that you can't ignore them. And once you have that in place, discipline becomes easier. Why? Because now your action has context. It has purpose. It has meaning. You're not just doing random tasks. You're building something. And people who are building something wake up differently. They move differently. They talk differently. They stop being distracted by things that don't matter. And they start pouring energy into things that do. The secret to great achievement isn't in the size of the dream. It's in the clarity of the plan and the consistency of the action. Decide what you want. Make it vivid. Make it specific. Then carve it into chunks. Daily chunks. Weekly chunks. Actions so clear you know exactly what you're supposed to do each morning. Then do that over and over. Through good days and bad. Through motivation and through fatigue. That's how you turn a dream into reality. That's how you take a vague idea and turn it into a measurable life. The world is full of wishers. What it needs are thinkers who execute. Choose to be one of them. Most people underestimate the power of consistency. They think success comes in one giant leap, one lucky big moment. But the truth is, it's built in silence, one disciplined step at a time. If you want to reach your goals, it's not about doing something amazing once. It's about doing the right thing over and over again, even when it feels like nothing's happening. Discipline isn't dramatic. It's not always exciting, but it's the invisible bridge between your dreams and your reality. Without it, you'll forever stay stuck in the cycle of almost. Discipline is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left you. It's easy to set a goal when you're inspired, when you're feeling motivated, when the energy is high. But that moment fades. The emotion fades. What stays is your habit, your structure. And if you don't have discipline woven into those things, your goals become temporary sparks instead of lasting flames. You can't depend on emotion. You can't rely on hype. What you can depend on is your commitment to show up daily, regardless of how you feel. That's the secret no one talks about. The people who seem successful, driven, unstoppable, they're not fueled by constant excitement. They're fueled by purpose, and they've trained themselves to be consistent. They've made discipline their friend, not their enemy. And because of that, they don't need perfect conditions. They don't need applause. They don't need external pressure. They create their own pressure. They move because it's who they are now. They do the work when it's easy, and they especially do it when it's hard. You don't become great at anything by occasionally showing up. You become great by deciding that nothing, not the weather, not your mood, not your circumstances, is more important than your standard. You make the standard the floor, not the ceiling. You make it non-negotiable. And that's where the shift happens. Discipline creates freedom. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. When you become disciplined in your money, you find financial freedom. When you become disciplined in your health, you find physical energy. When you become disciplined in your habits, you find time. Every area of life improves when you bring order into it. Chaos always looks tempting. It promises freedom without effort, but it always ends in regret. You can't build a future with chaotic habits. You can't grow with inconsistent effort. And you can't build character with shortcuts. You build it when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when it's just you, your goal, and the decision to either push or pause. Every day offers you that decision. And the more times you choose discipline, the more power you gain. You're not just building success. You're building yourself. And that's the real victory. Because success without discipline collapses the moment pressure comes. But success that is built with discipline, it stands. It grows. You must learn to trust the process more than the result. The result doesn't always show up when you expect it. You can go to the gym for 30 days and not see abs. You can read for 3 months and not feel wiser. You can build a business and not make profit for a year. That's why so many people quit. They don't trust the process long enough to let it work. They think because there's no immediate return, it's not worth continuing. But the invisible progress is always happening. Discipline builds momentum behind the scenes. And when it finally shows up, it looks like an overnight success. But it never is. You must become the kind of person who can keep moving forward, even without results. Because your identity isn't based on what's happening around you. It's based on what's happening within you. You become the person who follows through, who honors the plan, who sticks to the commitment. And that becomes your power. While others are looking for shortcuts, you're laying bricks. While others are looking for magic, you're building muscle. And muscle, whether mental, emotional, or physical, is what carries you when motivation dies. Now here's something even more powerful than discipline, discipline tied to purpose. When your why is strong enough, the how becomes easier, but you've got to keep that why in front of you. Why did you start this? Why did you set that goal? Why does it matter? What's at stake if you don't follow through? Too many people forget their why, and when life gets hard, and it will, they have no anchor. Purpose is the anchor. It keeps you grounded when the storms hit. It keeps you focused when distractions scream. It keeps you moving when comfort whispers your name. Tie your discipline to your purpose. Not to pressure, not to perfection, just to purpose. And once that purpose burns inside you, you won't need as much motivation. You'll have mission. Mission drives you. It pulls you forward. It keeps you honest. Discipline without purpose becomes punishment. But discipline with purpose becomes power. And here's where it gets real. Life will test your discipline. It will throw delays, disappointments, failures. You'll be tempted to retreat, to say, this isn't working, to change goals too quickly. But you've got to understand delays aren't denials. Failure isn't final. Setbacks aren't the end. They're part of the process. They sharpen you. They show you what you still need to learn. They build toughness. And toughness matters. Because the journey to your goals is never just about what you're getting. It's about who you're becoming. That leads to the final principle, review and adjustment. You don't just set a goal and hope. You review. You reflect. You make adjustments. Progress without reflection becomes stagnant. If you don't know what's working and what isn't, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes. You must become the kind of person who tracks their journey, who evaluates progress, who adapts. The plan doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be flexible. You're allowed to change the route as long as you don't change the destination. Reviewing isn't about beating yourself up. It's about learning. You ask what worked, what didn't? What habits made me stronger? What actions slowed me down? What distracted me? What helped me grow? These aren't judgment questions. They're growth questions. And growth only happens when you pause long to understand the path you're walking. The faster you move without reflection, the more likely you are to get lost. Schedule your reviews, weekly, quarterly. Sit down with your goals. Measure progress. Adjust your strategies. Celebrate small wins. You're building something, and every builder needs to look at the blueprint now and then. A builder who never checks the plan builds walls that collapse. But a builder who reviews and adjusts creates something that lasts. You must become that kind of builder. Intentional, focused, flexible. And don't just review your actions. Review your attitude. Because attitude is the lens through which you see everything. If your lens is dirty with negativity, comparison, impatience, or entitlement, your goals will feel harder than they are. But if your attitude is clean, with gratitude, persistence, humility, and optimism, you'll find energy even in struggle. Your attitude colors your effort. It shapes your results. So adjust it often. Clean your lens regularly. As you move forward, remember this. Your goal doesn't change just because your emotions do. Your vision stays steady even when your feelings shift. That's why review matters. It brings you back to the truth. It reminds you of what you're fighting for. It keeps your eyes on the outcome instead of the obstacle. Every review session is a moment to reset, to reconnect with your mission, to refuel your energy, and to recommit to the discipline that moves you. Some people fear reflection because it exposes what they haven't done. But the truth is that exposure is the beginning of real change. You can't fix what you don't face. You can't grow from what you don't acknowledge. And you can't improve what you don't examine. That's why reflection is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's maturity. It's strength. You must decide that you are a person of discipline and a person of review. You do the work. And then you study the work. You build. And then you inspect what you've built. That's how you grow. That's how you improve. That's how you win. Not by being perfect, but by being consistent, being aware, being relentless. Most people never reach their goals not because they weren't capable, but because they stopped showing up when it stopped being fun. They stopped reviewing. They stopped adjusting. They got distracted. They forgot their purpose. Don't let that be your story. Let your story be one of consistency, of resilience, of constant learning, and powerful discipline. And let your review be your mirror, revealing not only where you are, but where you're going, and the greatness that's still inside you waiting to be called forward.